Okay, so we are still solving by taking square roots.
You got it frozen up there.
Oh, I guess you can't see anything then, huh? Try again. How about that? Solving by taking square roots, and today we're going to look at multi-step equations. So before we actually take square roots, let's go back to IM1, Algebra 1, whatever we want to call it. And can we solve a problem that looks like this? Can we solve 2x minus 5 equals 7? I'm seeing some confident faces, and I'm seeing some like, sure faces. Is that a face because you're like, duh, right? What do we do? What's the first step? Add 5. So you always do your addition, subtraction, right? So we're going to add 5, and we get 2x equals 12. And then what's our last step to solve for x? Divide by 2, which means x equals 6. Right? So that's a multi-step equation. The difference is today we're going to deal with square roots. So you may have to add or subtract, you may have to divide, but then you'll also have to take square roots. So here's what I'm going to try. I'm going to give you a problem, and I want you to work with your group to see if you can come up with the steps that you need to take to solve it. Okay, it's nothing different than this, except our final step is taking square roots. You think you can try that? We're going to try something a little different. All right, so I would like you to try so let's do 8x squared plus 6 equals 542. So I want you to work, I guess you can work by yourself, but work with your group and come up with the steps that you need to solve this problem. I want you to really think about what you need to do to solve for x. So as we walked around, I saw some great things, which is awesome. The fact that you can process through the steps because it's the same algebra steps other than taking square root is good. The first thing you all did was subtract 6 from both sides, giving you 8x squared equals, thank you, 536. Then you divided by 8. X squared equals 67. And that brings you right back to what we did on Friday. If you can get to this point, you can do it all, right? So take the square root of both sides. I saw a lot of you going through and checking factors to see if anything divided into 67, and you realized it didn't. So x equals plus or minus the square root of 67. Not too bad? Okay, we're not going to make notes super long because we understand it, but I'm going to give you a couple more and make sure we're good, and then I'm going to let you do your homework, okay? So why don't you try 16k squared minus 4 equals 21. 6x squared plus 6 equals 222. And 8x squared plus 4 equals 164. Okay, so if we can get through these last 3 same steps, then we'll call it a day for notes. Here we go. First one, I'm going to add 4 to both sides, giving me 16k squared equals 25. When I divide by 16, I now have a fraction, so k squared equals 25 over 16. That's not something I can simplify, so I'm going to take the square root. K equals plus or minus the square root of 25 is 5. The square root of 16 is 4. So you should have had plus or minus 4/5. 5/4, not 4/5, sorry, 5/4, which is what I wrote. Number 3, I'm going to subtract 6 and have to divide, so let me just get that ready. So 6x squared equals 216 divided by 6. X squared equals 36. When you take the square root of both sides, you get x equals plus or minus 6. Remember, the very first thing you should always check for is if you have a perfect square. So if it's not something you recognize right away, plug it in and see if it's a perfect square. If you get a decimal, you know you have to do your factor tree. Okay, last one. Subtract 4 from both sides. So 8x squared equals 160. I'm going to divide by 8, which means x squared equals 20. When I take the square root of both sides, I know 20 is not a perfect square, but it factors to 4 and 5 and 2 and 2. So I have a pair of 2's. X equals plus or minus 2 square root of 5. Again, as I walked around, did you see the same thing? We were pretty solid. I don't think I saw any major mistakes. So again, a lot of what we're doing is algebra. We just add that square root piece in. That makes it a little more difficult or challenging, I guess. Any questions that we can answer? Awesome.